Hey everyone, welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. Settle in, because every twist and whisper is right here in our video, and you won't want to miss a beat. Before we dive in, remember to subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars and share this story with the friend who keeps an eye on every hint and detail. Now let's get into it. The rumor that has been simmering in the world of Turkish celebrity chatter has finally burst into full flame. After months of speculation, quiet sightings, and cryptic comments, the buzz is this: Elçin Sangu and Barış Arduç have found their way back to each other. Yes, the duo whose on-screen chemistry once electrified audiences and whose real-life connection became the subject of endless fascination are said to have decided on a second chance, choosing to rekindle carefully and away from the roar of the spotlight. Their story, as many remember, began where so many unforgettable love stories do, on set. A long shoot, a mutual rhythm, laughter between takes, and a trust that seemed to form almost by accident. That bond slowly spilled past the cameras, and soon fans were convinced they were seeing not just characters, but a real affection building in the wings. Moments shared online, a few carefully cropped photos, a location tag here and there, nothing explicit, but everything suggestive. Their closeness felt almost documented without ever truly being confirmed. Then, just as quickly as the narrative had been written in hearts and headlines, something changed. Their sudden distance became the new conversation. There was no clear breakup announcement, no definitive statement. Instead, a swirl of reasons bubbled up from the gossip mill. Hectic schedules. Different priorities. Unresolved misunderstandings. Familiar phrases that fit too well and explain too little. Silence filled in what the public was desperate to know, and that silence grew into a wall. Time passed, and the story seemed to fade. Projects came and went. Public appearances happened separately, and the sharp edges of speculation dulled into a quiet curiosity. But according to talk from those who claimed to know, feelings were not so easily packed away. The whispers say it began with short conversations, tentative, careful, turning into longer ones. Little meetings that didn't demand attention, and little truths shared more freely than before. The strongest word that keeps surfacing is reconsideration. Especially from Elçin Sangu, who, after a period of reflection, is said to have chosen not to shut the door on what once was. The approach this time, insiders say, is calmer, more grounded, and deliberately shielded from outside noise. Clues have piled up for the sharp-eyed. Both stars, it's alleged, have appeared at the same venues, never at the same moment, but close enough to hint. Their social media footprints have mirrored each other, with snapshots taken near the same view, a corner of the same cafe, a shared sunset with a nearly identical horizon. Mutual friends are back in the picture too, apparently showing up in both of their circles. Even without a single new photograph of them together, the mood behind the scenes is that the secret is hardly a secret anymore. Naturally, the internet did what it always does, divided itself into hopeful romantics and stern realists. A wave of comments lifted the idea of destiny, insisting that some stories are simply meant to continue. Others urged patience, recalling the reasons things fell apart before and wondering if those differences could truly be smoothed out. Among the loudest voices have been fans of Elçin Sangu, who admire her strength and independence and want to see her protected from disappointment. The fan forums are alive with both joy and caution. From the two themselves, however, there has been no official confirmation. No shared post, no carefully staged event. If the whispers are accurate, they are choosing to wait for a moment that belongs to them alone, not to a premiere night or a red carpet, but something honest and private first. Only after their footing feels firm, sources say, will they consider stepping back into the glare together. And if that happens, this reunion could become one of the most talked about turns of the year, not just because of who they are, but because of the arc their story has drawn in public memory. Meanwhile, the quieter hints have continued to surface. In recent interviews, Elçin Sangu has offered lines that followers have held under a magnifying glass. She has spoken of life flowing in its own rhythm, of learning to trust instinct, of listening closely to the heart after the noise dies down. On their own, these remarks are graceful and general. In context, they've been taken as gentle signs that something long unresolved may be unfolding again. On the other side, the word in certain circles is that Barış Arduç, speaking only to those closest to him, has owned up to mistakes and expressed a desire to be more present, more patient, and more deliberate this time. It hasn't been an easy green light. Those near the pair say the decision wasn't made in a rush or for a headline. It came out of long conversations that weren't always comfortable, conversations that involved honesty about what hurt, what went wrong, and what each needed in order to move forward without repeating old patterns. There was a deliberate dismantling of vague assumptions and a building of clearer boundaries. The agreement, as it's been described, was to guard the private part of their lives, to treat it as something separate from the machine of public attention. Of course, with two stars whose chemistry once lit up every scene, rumors of a new collaboration were inevitable. The speculation is that they have been exploring scripts that could accommodate where they are now, mature, steady, and unwilling to force anything just for hype. The idea of a joint project is enough to keep fans buzzing, but what makes it more enticing is the suggestion that they are supporting each other's choices even off camera. It's a picture of two people creating room for one another's ambitions while protecting the fragile space where love, if it is truly back, can grow again. Those who have seen them lately say there's a softness in the way they move through their days, a deliberate refusal to chase attention. No strategic joint posts, no sudden interviews engineered to drive a frenzy. They've opted out of that rhythm. And yet, for the people around them, the renewed closeness is unmistakable. A glance that lingers longer than necessary. A shared joke in a corner. A sense that something once paused has been quietly unpaused. In the gossip world, the narrative has already been written as the second act of an unfinished play. But whether this return leads to a lasting chapter or a careful test of what still remains is the question everyone is asking. All eyes are primed for that first unambiguous photograph, that first public step taken side by side, an image that could turn 1,000 assumptions into a single headline. Will this love step into the future free of its old shadows, or is it simply revisiting a beautiful room to see if it still feels like home? There's another layer to this, and it has everything to do with timing and temperament. The suggestion is that Elçin Sangu has been practicing a new steadiness, refusing to be pulled by extremes and instead prioritizing balance. Friends describe a woman who knows herself better, who has measured what she expects and what she can give, and who sees a second chance not as a leap but as a considered step. In tandem, whispers suggest that Barış Arduç has been meeting that energy with patience, offering reassurance where once there might have been rush, making room for sensitivity, and paying attention to details that used to get lost in the haze of work and obligations. Recent sightings, reported quietly and without fanfare, follow a pattern. Entering a familiar Istanbul spot through different doors, moments apart, and finding the same table tucked away from the crowd. Choosing smaller places where the music is soft and the corners are kind. Steering clear of the loudest rooms and the brightest flashes. It's intentional, the insiders say, a choice born from the lessons of last time, when attention snowballed and privacy felt impossible. They are trying, it seems, to avoid feeding a narrative before they've finished writing it themselves. Even with schedules that would pull anyone thin, the effort to prioritize small shared moments appears to be real. Short breaks woven between obligations. A day trip to the coast without a caption. A quiet walk in a neighborhood where nobody expects to see them. No proof yet in photographs, no teasing snippets posted online, and that seems to be the point. They want time to recalibrate. They want to rediscover what their connection looks like when it isn't being measured by likes, views, and speculative threads. One of the most telling angles, according to those who have watched their story over the years, is the families. There was warmth there once, a respect and ease that didn't vanish with the public shift in their status. And now, the talk is that the lines of communication between extended circles have been gently reopened. Not a reunion staged for effect, but a comfortable return to conversations that were always easy. It bolsters the idea that this isn't an impulsive rewrite, but a thoughtful continuation. What makes this chapter so gripping is how collected it feels. The drama is not in a scandal or a shock, but in the restraint, in the carefulness. It's a story built with murmurs, not fireworks. And that, more than anything, suggests that what's happening here matters to them more than it ever did to those of us watching. Still, the anticipation is undeniable. People want to know how it ends, but that's the problem with love, it doesn't really end. It turns, it rests, it returns in new shapes. And for Elçin's Sangu and Barış's Arduç, every piece of gossip and every hushed confirmation seems to point toward a fresh beginning that acknowledges everything that came before. If they stand together again under the cameras, it will be because they've done the harder work in the quiet. Until then, the scene is set for one of the year's defining entertainment moments. The first linked appearance. The first mutual statement, subtle or bold. The first acknowledgement that transforms rumor into reality. Will they mark it with grace, a brief line shared at the right time, or will they opt for simplicity, letting a single photograph speak more than a dozen interviews could? Fans are refreshing feeds, analysts are parsing subtext, and every small move is being read like a clue in a mystery. What we can say, based on the pattern, is that both sides have changed their approach. The new rules are clearer than they were before. Privacy is the priority. Patience is the practice. And if the whispers prove true, affection is present again, steadier now, rooted not in the rush of those first stunning days on set, but in the understanding that survived after. That is what makes this moment so compelling, love not as a spark, but as a light that someone took the time to shelter and relight. We'll keep watching, carefully, respectfully, and with the same curiosity that has followed them from the earliest signs of that unforgettable chemistry. Will life and work align enough to protect what's being rebuilt? Will a new project bring them back into the same creative orbit, or will they decide their best collaboration right now is the quiet one happening away from script pages and spotlights? For now, that's where the story rests, balanced between what we think we know and what we've yet to see. And when the moment arrives, you'll hear about it here first. This is Secrets Behind the Stars, signing off for now. If this deep dive drew you in, don't forget to subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars and share the video with the person who never misses a storyline. We'll be here, watching the horizon, waiting for that first clear signal, and ready to tell you everything as it unfolds, slowly, surely, and exactly when they decide it's time.